Alright, so now we're going to be doing a review of the scope concept in JavaScript. We're going to be doing some practice with it. So how this is going to work is I'm going to read out the concepts, and then straight away we're going to practice them in the code editor, and then we're going to log them on the console while I explain the concepts to you as we go along. So if you haven't seen our other videos, I'd recommend you watch them, where we work through the course on Codeacademy of like the different ideas of blocks, global scope, global namespace, scope in JavaScript and other things. But anyway, let's get right into it. So review scope. In this lesson you learned about scope and how it impacts the accessibility of different variables. So let's review the following terms. Scope. Scope is the idea in programming that some variables are accessible / inaccessible from other parts of the program. So say if you had a function locally within a code block, it wouldn't be accessible outside the code block. And if you had a function globally, it would be accessible inside of a code block, but that could pollute the global namespace, so it's not recommended that you make global variables. So blocks are statements that exist within curly braces, so code blocks are inside the curly braces. So say we have an if statement, low close true, then inside the code block we can do let low equal to ha. So this is the code block inside the curly braces. Now global scope refers to the context within which variables are accessible to every part of the program. So if I declare, notice it's not in a function, so this is a global variable, equal to lol. Now this is a global variable, and you don't really want to do these because they can pollute the global namespace. So global variables are variables that exist within the global scope. Block scope refers to the context within which variables that are accessible only within the block they are defined. So only, this variable is only accessible within the block it's defined. So see, if I try to go console.log hello outside of the block code, you'll see we get a reference error, hello is not defined. But if I X this out and then I paste it in here, oh, we didn't define hello outside. Hello 1 equal to true. I'll just name that for the sake of it, and now this will evaluate the true, so then it will run. And we get ha, because inside the code block we let hello equal to ha, and then we ran hello inside of it, and there we got it. Whereas if we did it outside, it won't work because hello is undefined. So this is an example of a locally defined variable. So now, global namespace is the space in our code that contains globally scoped information. Local variables are variables that exist within a code block. This is a local variable. So scope pollution is when too many variables exist in a namespace or variable names are reused. So as you continue your coding journey, remember to use best practices when declaring your variables. Scoping your variables tightly will ensure that your code is clean, organized and modular logic. Alright, so let's practice some of these. So we have scope. So what about let scope equal to hello. So this is a global variable, which you don't really want to do. Blocks are statement that exists within curly braces. So if we did let goodness equal to, we have a function here that let scope equal to John, then console.log John, and then if we did another one, or did an if statement, scope's true, which it will be because it is not an empty string, then we can let scope in here equal to maker, and then we can do console.log scope. And we have to call the function goodness. And see, we get John from here, and then in this code block we're declaring another local variable with the same name, and we console.log scope and we get maker. And now blocks are statements that exist within curly braces. So this is a code block inside the curly braces, this is another code block, inside these curly braces. So global scope refers to the context within which variables are accessible to every part of the program. So this is global scope, and we can access this anywhere in the program. So if I remove these, and if I remove this up here, and say if I were to let scope equal to hello, we can access it inside of another function. So if I hit scoper equal to, and then we can change the value of this if we reassign the value to 100. Log scope will now be 100. But we need to run the function scoper, and now if we console.log scope outside of it, it'll still be 100. You see? But if we did a let scope now, and then if we did here bracketed happy, now it's a local variable, so it'll be different to the outside one, the global one. So we get happy and hello. There you go. And now global variables are variables that exist within the global scope. Block scope refers to the context within which variables that are accessible only within the block they are defined. So this variable is only accessible within the block that's defined. Actually, we just want to change the name because it's bad practice to have like variables with the same name over and over again. It can get confusing. So this is only a local variable, whereas this one is global. So this one's only accessible within the code block, whereas this one's accessible anywhere in the code base. Local variables are variables that exist within block scope. Global namespaces is the space in our code that contains globally scoped information. Scope pollution is when too many variables exist in a namespace or variable names are reused. So say in a big code base you could have like hundreds of variables, and if you were to have them all globally, like you can imagine things get really confusing really fast. So best practice is to have them inside code blocks and have local variables. It's just a lot cleaner and more organized. So yep, that's the takeaway from this video. You want to use local variables instead of global variables if you can, to keep your code clean and concise. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Comment down below what your thoughts are and what you're currently learning. Next video we'll be learning arrays and going through this course. So thanks for watching and good luck.